for me, I wouldn't use the word influencing. It's not what I was doing. I was just recognizing and letting the emotions in my body express themselves to the point that they were then okay and released it on its own, so to speak.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really an influence. It was just allowing them to complete their process.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we keep it on the leash, and every time we think of something, we tear up and start crying, we're keeping it on the leash.
Right.
And if we just let the leash go and let's see where the emotions all go in the body, because if you feel that it's happening in the emotions centered from, let's say, your collarbone or your armpit or your leg or your heart, wherever, if you feel where it's centered and you just feel it, then you let go of the leash and let it see what happens, right? Does it expand? Does it contract? Does it move? Does it change a sensation in your body? And just follow it as it goes. And eventually it just dissipates.
Right. Right.
And that's something that's a skill that is learned.
Yep. New skill for me,
Mm-hmm.
for sure. Yeah. So I'm really glad this came up because it's kind of, yeah, yeah. Thank you, Annette, for sharing that, your experience with this. You know, the terminology I was using was about was kind of from the from around the concept in the first place. It wasn't terminology that I would have normally used. So so thank you for addressing the influence part.
Oh, and I was just referring to myself how I didn't feel for me it was influence, but
Right.
somebody else, the word influence has a different meaning for them.
Correct.
Right? It's just like if you look at a picture, what does that picture mean to you, right? It means something different to somebody else. So,
Right.
yeah. Oh, good.
Yep. Yep. Awesome.
Good morning, Pascal.
Hey.
Thank God, fuck, I wish it doesn't come back on.
What was that?
Well, it bumps into society's view that says, I mean, the truth is that we think the past is fixed, like it happened, and it's over, and it went this way or that way, and that keeps us stuck in it. And if you walked around the street and told people that they could change their past, they'd tell you you're nuts. But in reality, like that, doing what we do, of being aware of the past, what is brought up, we look at it, when we look at it from a different perspective, that is changing the past. But we're doing it in the present. And that is massive transformation. It can be. It has been for me, and I've seen it in others. Now, it's not changing the past like people think of changing the past. Most people think of changing the past like they're jumping a time machine. They go back to the situation and they make a different decision, which is what you kind of do. Or it's been my experience of that. But what's really just happening is we are in the present, thinking about a past moment, a memory, a situation, and looking at it differently. We notice the way we saw it because that's the way we created it. But then we look at it from a different perspective.
For me, that's basically the recode.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. It's detaching, it's letting go, it's
Watching for the automatics.
yep. It's how we can see the automatic. It's so much of awareness. It's that big word of awareness that we use.
Mm.
I mean, really, what else is there that we need to be aware of? Anything that triggers us in the moment is a connection, is because of our past. I think the other thing we do is we spend too much time in the past.
For sure.
Yeah, because it's familiar.
Mm.
I think at a deep level, it's what's safe. So familiar. We know that it's safe because we survived it. I think that's just our natural mechanics. Slightly flawed, yes.
I think if we, or for me certainly, if I think of the past with the awareness of what Annette was talking about, in terms of separating the emotion from the emotion from the actual happening. I don't know how else to describe that, but so no, it's not just about taking necessarily the wisdom. Could be wisdom, but it could just be on a lower level. Not necessarily what I would call wisdom, but it is still a learning. And if you use it in that way, with your imagination of what it is that you want,
Yes.
we're talking about how much time we spend in the past. It also makes me think of, and the ease of doing that. If I think of myself when you first asked me that question, and I realized how much I was based in the past. When I think about it now, I also think about that in a way, it's a kind of a laziness. And it could be a laziness just because there's so much emotional exhaustion from having come out of it, that emotional exhaustion is still there. And then if you get somebody that can reflect back to you how constrictive a space it is to stay in, that's what helped me to begin to shift back to using my imagination as I did as a child. Made a huge difference. And just the notion that you've got permission to make things up.
What's that?
And yet your description of separating the emotion and going forward was very, very clear and ordered. Thank you.
Thank you for recognizing that, because it's been a very long process to come to that realization on how to do that.
How to take the garbage out. Put it on
Yes.
there.
Well, that's actually what I'm doing this morning. So it was a good reference for me.
Yeah, RJ in one of his lecture, he says a lot of people like have an easier time with thoughts. They don't associate themselves with their thoughts, but they have a harder time with their emotion. And he says like, well, if you would be your emotion, when your emotion pass, you'll pass too. Same as your body, like sensation, same as your thought, same as everything on kind of the five sense level. And that helps me a lot because I'm like, but still a practice, right? Until they become an automatic, like, nope, not my thought, I'm not my feeling.
You know what I find interesting about that, Pascal, is that the body can only stay in a certain state for a certain amount of time. When we leave it be,
Yeah.
and people don't realize that.
Yeah, and a good example is hunger, right? You're hungry, and then you just sit in that presence, and then eventually you're like, why I'm not hungry anymore? Kind of strange. And it comes back, right? It might come back even harder for a little while, but eventually it just leaves you. Like the body adapts, right? That's what people are able to do, like fasting. If you're able to sit there and being present with it, it will just go. But instead, like when we have a feeling or thoughts, we just attach it with something else, like from our past or a future event that haven't even happened yet. Instead than just sitting with it. And the other thing is like when someone is attacking you, understand that it has nothing to do with you. It's just their programming that's coming out. You know, they're just revealing themselves to you.
I'll say that that is another way to look at it.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it.
It is a much better way than the way we default to.
Yeah.
But most people don't realize the default because that overwhelming charge is automatic and takes over, which even in situations it does for me. But then I reflect on it, which means goes to the past, and look at it. And replay it a different way so that when it happens in the future, I'm prepared so I don't do it again. Now, it just incrementally gets better. Most of us think that there's a key out there, and if we find the key, put it in the right keyhole, and turn it one time, we'll have everything we want. So just like we say, someone might say, I can't go to the past and change it. Yet they want a different future. So yeah, I think a big part of it is how we think things will show up and how they really do. I think for the most part, we're shallow about it.
Thank you, Jesse. It's almost top of the hour and I gotta get going. I enjoyed the silence and enjoyed the conversation. Good information.
Thanks for being here, Annette. Thanks for your contribution. Have a great day. Do you have a word you're leaving with? Already left. We have the words coordinates, like where we are. And gentle, is that gentle? I'm going to go with awareness. Awareness of what? Awareness as we've traversed through life, all the doors that closed in front of us. We made up a reason, a story in that moment why that door won't open. Some of those doors hurt more than others. Some of those doors became familiar. And happened again and again and again. And in our awareness, we can go back to the beginning door, to the earliest doors. Stand there in front of it and not only look at what we said or thought or felt as that door closed in front of us, but also look at, well, what do we want? What would we prefer to feel in this moment? What do we need in this circumstance, in this situation? What is it we're longing for? And when we align, find the true feeling, all those doors open that are associated with that feeling. That is the awareness of changing the past. That is letting go. That is removing resistance. Well, that's what I celebrate in awareness. And grateful for learning through my journey has created so much peace in my life, so much stability, fulfillment, authenticity, truth. That is the power of awareness from my point of view. Hi, Mona.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Mona.
How's everybody today?
I'm great. I'm great. Thank you. You sound great.
Thank you. You guys sound good too.
You're working with coordinates, gentle, and awareness. and probably all of that surrounding past situations that we can revisit. We can separate the thinking and the feeling to let the emotion go, or to change it with a different perspective, to align it to the truth, to heal the pain and change the future.
I think that when you talk about this, what comes up for me is I think it takes both of those pieces to let go. And change the perspective. Because even if you change the perspective, you're not letting go.
Yeah.
All the time, your ego is still going, yeah, just because you see it another way doesn't mean that's the way it is for me.
Oh, I've been around people trying to change their story without looking at the emotion that's attached to it.
Yeah. I know somebody that does that all the time. They change the story and they don't look at the emotion that's attached to it. And the only reason that they change their story is because they're not willing to take responsibility for themselves.
Hmm. The emotion helps us take the story, progress the story in a direction. Without looking at the emotion, just you don't know which one is right perspective, which one is a better perspective. It's just, oh, I'll just change it, change it, change it. It provides no direction. Because you can still change your story and still feel like shit. Change your story and still feel empty. Just like you can stop drinking and still crave alcohol. If we give our power away, we want something out there. Just because we change it from one thing to another doesn't necessarily provide the fulfillment. We're just filling one void with another void.
And that's because we're not going down into the depth of the integrity of it, right? It's interesting that.
Dancing at the surface of it.
Mm.
And that's the whole reason, like why we don't address the emotion part of it is because they're scary, or they're hurtful, or we've been taught not to look at them. Why? They're a part of our life.
I know. I know. And I think what I have to remind myself about that is that in the environment that some people grow up in going into emotions is tantamount to experiencing a death. And so the capacity to work with emotions is extremely limited. And so the defense against that is at times quite pathological.
More often we were someone encouraged us, told us not to listen to them being the emotions.
Mm. Mm. And that would have come from a place of very deep trauma, right? Or consistent trauma, put it that way.
And it could have been delivered as helpful.
Mm-hmm.
We're all familiar with a dad that says, men don't cry.
Mm.
Men are strong.
Old school that thing they were saying back then, sort of saying that when you're crying you're not strong. Well, I've seen, and when you look at some of the marathon runners and stuff, they're almost crying when they cross the goal. Doesn't mean they're not strong when they're crossing. I think tears is just a way of letting out emotions that's too big for the body.
Yep.
Mm.
Doesn't matter if it's happiness, sadness, or pain, or whatever.
Yeah. It's just
Yeah,
a clearing, right?
yeah.
Sorry,
It's instead than crying for me, I just sweat it out.
That's what a strong man would do.
That's it. That's right, Jesse.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you go into that sweat hut daily.
Yeah. That's why I stink.
Well, then you are strong in your smelling. No, I've been wondering a little about that past. We've been talking about it. I'm sitting here fumbling a little bit with it, and I thought about missing. Well, you can be sad when you're missing. Well, I transmuted into being happy because it just showed me that I've left something that's not here anymore. But it doesn't matter which way I look at it, I'm still attached to it.
Yep.
Instead of just allowing it to be there and moving on right here and right now.
Yep.
Mm.
Hearing that Heinz is aware of like, oh,
saw it as telling my ego a story to satisfy it.
yep. Or it could be that's a sad feeling of missing. For whatever reason, we think that we can't have that feeling, or we shouldn't have that feeling. It needs to be something happier. You know?
So there's no attachment to the attachment.
Mm.
Is that what you're saying, Jesse? Mm.
Allowing it now. Careful, this is a slippery slope because that's what people then stay in that feeling because that feeling makes them feel better. So they say, right? And it's like a slope that you can't recover from. We call it depression.
You're getting out of flow with time instead of you're attaching to one spot in time instead of flowing forward with it and allowing it to be there.
Yep. Because the mind jumps in and starts pulling you down in stories that are associated with that feeling rather than just allowing the feeling and observing it from neutral.
That would be just being aware of being human, right?
Yeah, exactly. Human that has a past, an emotional human that has a past and a thinking ego mind. Whose body is always going through chemical reactions.
That awareness is how people like RJ are able to turn their bodies around in the way that he did.
Had an intention, followed through on it for him.
Mm.
Listened to what he needed.
And threw away the rest of the trash.
That's right.
And we all have different ways of being able to do that.
Yeah.
Because we come in with different skills, I believe, or different vibrations, you could say, actually.
They all get
That's what
groomed.
keeps. Yeah. Well, yeah, different ones get groomed for sure. Is that what you said, Jess?
Yeah, we get groomed different ways, right? Because we all
Yeah.
have different experiences to foster them or hide them, which is also fostering them in a way.
I think of that one refrain from that poem that I loved so much with Mark Nepos, where he said, "We are small living reflections of life, not gods that create rivers." And it's a dance between those two. I'm so sorry. I have to leave, guys. I didn't realize the time. Thank you so much for everything.
Have a blessed day, Alison.
Bye.
Yeah, have a great day.
You too.
Any burning desires to share?
I've got nothing new right now. Except I spoke with my son yesterday again.
Nice.
Oh, beautiful.
1 hour and 40 minutes.
Mm.
But he's so realized. It makes me proud each time we talk. It's not like I'm giving him any way of doing things, because he asked me a question and then I say, this is my point of view on it, how you could tackle that or deal with that. I just feel blessed to be his dad.
I'm happy for you, Heinz. And for him.
I feel he's the age of 17 and he's almost further than I am now.
Yeah, like they say, right? Like kids these days, like they start on the third base,
Yep. And the way he started
never.
with fighting, that he was placed in a foster home and everything I've experienced, he just experienced from the other side. He's still under the social and everything, and they are talking to him. So we have the same opinion about those guys. And the things they tell him, I just say, don't listen to them. What do they know? Are they living your life? Nope. And you can't change their opinion. It's them who needs to change that. But I'm so happy he's just following his heart no matter what, and he's already talking about deprogramming and everything. Whoa. That was something that I started with, what, 9 months ago?
Left for Tenney Street Southwest, then turn right onto Tenney Street Southwest. Turn right onto Tenney Street Southwest, then turn right onto 17th Avenue Southwest.
Go left, go left.
I want to shut this off. Oh, there you go. Perfect. I don't even know where I'm going. Hey, you.
Just follow the trash cans. Follow the trash cans.
Mute, unmute, mute. There you go. Yeah, find the next trash can.
Yeah.
That's my job.
You're playing Pac-Man in a way, in the real world.
Yeah, no.
Back to vacation.
Back to vacation. Yeah.
Well, I don't
Lovely
see this vacation being in the cold where you are.
Oh, it's getting warmer now. Like finally. Yeah. -1 this morning, so not bad.
Oh,
It's supposed to be like 6 degrees this afternoon, so
spring is there.
spring is here.
Yeah.
Well, it hasn't been a bad winter really. It's just when it comes to March, right? People are just getting like tired of everything.
Yep. Ready for the new scenery, which is just around the corner.
Which is pretty much the same.
Yeah.
That's the different color, not white. It's green.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's too hot.
No, we don't get that here. Not very often, anyway.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for being here today. Thanks for sharing and have a great day.
Yeah. You have a blessed day, you guys. Love and hugs.
Thanks.
Yeah, you too.
Bye, Pascal. Bye, Heinz.
Bye, Jesse.
Bye, guys.
Pascal.